Hello there, lovelies, and welcome back. In today's video, I just want to talk to you about why it can be so hard to stop drinking when you are in that grey area zone, because one of the problems with it is that generally you're probably coping fine with life. You're probably holding down a job and keeping the family running and making healthy food for everybody, taking care of relatives, doing the out of school stuff for children or grandchildren, and having a busy social life and all of the things that we do that make it look like life is fine, that we're coping and everything's cool, if you like. And when life is like that, it's really hard to let go of alcohol, because generally what would you say to yourself? Well, it's not that bad. Yeah, I should stop drinking, but it's not so bad. I'm not falling apart. I've got my job. I might not be doing it as well as I could be, but nobody else is, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm exhausted at the end of the day, but who isn't? And I can have a glass of wine or a few glasses of wine to take the edge off the day, and I'm done. And things still get done and the chores get done, and so what's the big deal? And everybody does it. And yeah, you're right. You are superwoman. We've all been superwoman at some point, where we've done lots of things whilst drinking afterwards, just in order to kind of smooth the rough edges of any given day. But if you're watching this, you obviously have realised that alcohol's getting a little bit of a problem, and you'd like to cut down or stop altogether. I've done a little video about moderation, so I'll link that below. But I do think that it's almost like you're waiting for things to finally collapse, for everything to be terrible, for you to reach a rock bottom. And I find with my clients, and certainly with myself, I never reached a rock bottom when I stopped drinking. I just had this sort of miserable day when I thought, oh, isn't there more to life than this? Isn't there more to life than constantly thinking about alcohol and constantly writing about it in my journal? It wasn't my life is falling apart and I have to stop now. It was very much a kind of, can things not be different? Can it not be better? And I think sometimes even that doesn't feel like a rock bottom. For me, it was a little bit of a shock that I was so obsessed with alcohol in my journal. I mean, that's what made me stop. But you've already had that thought. And I will say this in probably every video I ever record, that if you are watching this video and you are still drinking, I promise you, you are in the worst part of giving up, because you know you want to stop, but you're drinking every day or however often that you're drinking. And that is the worst kind of self-torture. So to get yourself out of this situation, I want you to start thinking not about, my life's okay, it's not too bad. I want you to start thinking about, what would it be like if I stopped? What sort of things could I do? What would my relationships be like? What would work be like? Would that be better? Would I look for another job? Would I start my own business? Would I, what are the questions that you need to ask yourself in order to start thinking differently about alcohol? Because essentially where you are now, you have a toxic relationship with alcohol that's not that different from that toxic ex that you had, that the only way you were ever able to get rid of them was just to ignore them and stop thinking about them. And it's pretty much the same with alcohol. You can just, you can sort of, it's almost, if you imagine, like just taking a 15-degree move and starting to look in a different direction. Because, you know, if you look around where you are now, you know, you look ahead, you can see certain things. But if you look to the side, the view looks very different. And that's kind of what I encourage with giving up alcohol, because you just need a different perspective. And that different perspective can be, what would life be like without alcohol? Now, I'm not saying stop drinking now. By the way, go see your doctor, be sensible. But what I am wanting to encourage you to think about is, what would life be like if you stopped? Say you'd just, you know, had a diagnosis and it meant you couldn't drink alcohol, or something happened and maybe your finances were so rock bottom that you just couldn't afford it anymore and you were forced into it. Whilst that's not always a good strategy for stopping, because it's not you in control, but if you were in control, what do you imagine life would be like? For me, the peace and contentment that I have inside my heart and my soul is second to none. I have a clarity of mind now that I wouldn't give up for anything. And in terms of things like relationships, my relationships, especially with my children, have just become the most solid, loving, open and caring that I could have ever wished for, and certainly didn't have when I was drinking. There's no downsides to sobriety at all. So what I want you to start thinking about, might be a bit of a big thing, but start thinking about your dreams. What do you dream of? What are your dreams of life without alcohol? You know, I had one client once who said she'd like to live on a farm in France and raise chickens. You know, are those dreams possible if you stop drinking? You know, could you sell your business if it's killing you, get out of your job if you're exhausted, get out of your relationship if you know deep down in your heart of hearts that it's not right? I'm not encouraging any of these things. I'm just asking you to take a few minutes to reflect on what life might be like without alcohol. I can promise you it's amazing. It's truly transformational, joyful, and absolutely gorgeous. And there's no downsides to it. But for you, what would be the best things about giving up alcohol? Apart from the obvious health things, how would your life change? So here's a little journal prompt for you. My dreams are, and then just fill them in and look at, what is it about your dreams that excite you? Are they possible? If sobriety is standing in the way of those dreams, what are you waiting for? Honestly, such a great place to be. Come and join me, my love. And I will see you on the next video. There are links of things that are available, my book and my course, in the description below, as well as a free reflective guide. Let's ditch alcohol and choose something much better. You take care.